sermon application video for Wednesday. Whew. Sermon application video for Wednesday. In 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great week. It is now Wednesday, and we are really starting to get into Joseph's story a bit. We learned about how he became the favorite son in Jacob's eyes. And then yesterday, pretty crazy part of scripture that we read where we really learned about, wow, how do you make a decision like that? Where Joseph's brothers got so angry with him, whenever they saw him coming from far away, they plotted to kill him. They were like, let's kill him and throw him in a well, and then just, we'll take his coat, dip it in animal blood, and tell him, Dad, that some vicious animal killed him and ate him, and this is all we could find. And they almost led to that. And then, one of his brothers, Reuben, was just like, no, we can't do that. We can't kill him. So they throw him in a well. And then the Ishmaelite, traders, they're coming up and they're like, hey, let's not kill him. After all, he is our brother, right? So maybe we ought to have a little mercy. He is our brother. Let's just profit off of his pain. So they sell him into slavery and he ends up in Egypt. Then his brothers take the coat, dip it in animal blood, and then lie to their dad about Joseph. And in their eyes, that's it. They will never see Joseph again, this brother that they hated so much, that they were so jealous of. They felt that they had gotten away with it. Woo! Wow. And that was a permanent part of their story. Regardless of how their story goes from that day forward, that decision they made is a permanent part of their story. And now we kind of switch over to Joseph as far as, wow, how do you write the story of your life? How do you write a God-honoring story when you've been kidnapped, thrown into a well, and now sold into slavery? Because that's where we kind of pick up the story. We ended up where he went to Egypt and was purchased by Potiphar, who is the captain of Pharaoh's royal guard. So he's a very wealthy Egyptian, and he is in Egypt. And we're going to learn today that Joseph applies this principle in a way that you and I, for the most part, probably don't. When bad things happen to us, we play the role of the victim. And we just feel sorry for ourselves, and we want people to feel sorry for us. Joseph doesn't take that route. Joseph decides that, hey, God, you put me here for a reason, and regardless of what happens to me, and this is something that we really need to get the grasps of, is that we have absolutely no control over what happens to us. Zero. We can't control what happens to us, but we have complete control as to how we respond. And Joseph says, I have got no control over the fact that I was kidnapped, thrown in a well, and sold into slavery, but what I do have control over is how I respond. And that is going to be a part of my story. So how do I want my story to go? Because bad things have happened to me, I'm going to use that as an excuse just to be pitiful and whine and mope and not do anything God-honoring the rest of my life. I mean, he could have went that way, probably have good reason to, being thrown into a well, sold into slavery, but he decides not to go that route. He decides, I want to have a God-honoring story. So what we're going to read today is we're going to be in chapter 39 of Genesis, and we're going to go verses 1 through 23. And we're going to learn all about how he applies this pressure in several situations, because right off the get-go, he decides to take the role as a slave seriously, and you'll find out what happens because of that. And what we kind of talked about on Sunday is this whole thing, this whole ordeal with Potiphar's wife, whenever she says, hey, come to bed with me, and he applies this question again. So read Genesis 39, verses 1 through 23, and then we will catch in with you tomorrow. So make it a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. God bless.